Hello and good evening. This is your primetime news bulletin. I'm Shahin Jurangpati.
And I'm Dasnia Pavel. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Saitam abolished. Students to be transferred to the Kothalawala Defence Academy. Bill passed in Parliament. Allegations raised that the UGC Provident Fund incurred losses due to the bond scam. US pulls out of United Nations Human Rights Council. Sri Lanka captain Dinesh Chandimal handed down one-match suspension and fined match fee for ball tampering allegations.
The special provisions bill to abolish Saitam and to transfer the students to the Sir John Kothalawala University was presented to Parliament today.
This bill only applies to the students of the university who have enrolled between the 15th of September 2009 and the 17th of May 2017. What we envisage from this bill is that the children should be enrolled into the Kothalawala Defence University. After that is done, Saitam does not have any authority to grant degrees to them, and that it will be legally abolished after that. When that amendment is brought in, then there will be no suspicions.
There were 3 amendments. We are certain that the minister will conclude this task in good faith. In a chamber filled with ministers who boasted that the Saitam will not be abolished, we are thankful to you for accepting that the institution will be abolished. We want the enrolling to be done in accordance with the Medical Council.
The Sir John Kothalawala University has not been removed through this act. My request is to either repeal this act or debate it again. There is an uncertainty in terms where this will lead to.
We continuously said that we need a solution to this issue. We are sad to say that the intervention of the Minister of Higher Education as well as the current Minister of Health caused this issue to delay further. We spoke about this at the Cabinet, but they did not listen to what we had to say. They say Saitam will be abolished on one day and the next day they enroll students. That is what happened. I am thankful to you for the actions that you have carried out to take that fear away.
They are trying to burden us with this. Former Minister of Higher Education S.B. Dissanayake, who brought this about, is not in Parliament today. The ICD can then ask S.B. Dissanayake why this was brought in.
He is still of the same stance. He is not in the country.
I know that you are against this now, but I did not know you were against it back then. The Medical Faculty Students Activists Committee held a silent demonstration near the entry road to the Parliament this afternoon. They were demanding a just solution to the Saitam issue. Protests was a topic discussed at today's Cabinet media briefing. No one can deny a parliamentarian access to Parliament. I was not able to enter Parliament yesterday. We need to take action. If not, every day we will have someone protesting on the streets. There are proposals, but they were not implemented.
Speaker Karu Jayasuriya, speaking at an event at Temple Trees today, commented on the disturbances caused by protests.
The highest number of protests in the world take place in Sri Lanka. We cannot step onto the streets because there will always be a protest. Colombo was in a mess yesterday. The reason may be a protest over Saitam or some other issue. Yet there are protests day after day, or there will be 5 separate protests on one particular day. If there is an issue in a village, a group will come together, cut down 2 trees, set fire to tires and protest. Then the road will be closed. This is where we need to speak of citizens' rights. The issue created by 5 people becomes a serious disturbance to thousands of citizens. We have seen instances of patients dying as a result. We have seen instances of people missing their flights as a result. We do not see any investors coming in. We do not see any tourists coming in. We have 21 million people, the same amount in Madras, India. That city is governed by a mayor, and they don't have such issues. 353 people selected by the Education Service Committee of the Public Service Commission were given appointment letters to be recruited to Grade 3 of the Sri Lanka Teaching Service.
Convening a media briefing today, the Executive Director of Centre for Human Rights and Research in Sri Lanka, Kirti Tennakon, spoke about yet another alleged fraud that has been committed in conjunction with the infamous bond scam.
A value close to 880 million rupees or more belonging to the UGC Provident Fund has been fraudulently obtained and spent for the bond scam. Perpetual Treasuries has purchased at 112 rupees. After a very short time, they have sold this at 121 rupees. The bonds have been purchased by the UGC Provident Fund through the National Savings Bank. PTL has received a profit of 9 rupees in mere minutes. What is surprising is that the Deutsche Bank has purchased the same bonds from PTL, leaving a 1 rupee profit. When a private bank purchases these at the competitive rate, leaving a profit of only 1 rupee, the professors, the lecturers as well as the other staff have brought this after leaving a profit of 9 rupees for PTL. It has been identified that a loss of close to 140 million has been incurred as a result.
State Minister for International Trade Sujiva Sen Singha made the following statement after an event held on attracting investments to Sri Lanka.
Most of the people compare the road built to Galle 20 years ago as a Katanaika expressway. But if you look at it closer, it took this government only 2.5 years and foreign investments have increased and we have recorded high exports. The reason why there is a depreciation of the rupee against the dollar is because there was no production in the country from 2013 to 2015. The Hambantota harbour was constructed, but the production did not increase. The Galle road was constructed. There was no increase in production. The Katanaika road was constructed, but there was no increase in production. However, there was economic growth because funds were utilized for certain tasks. If there is no proper production, we will face a serious crisis. When there is no production in the country, the dollar will rise. When there is production, it will drop. There are strikes and protests all over. How would investors come here? If we do not take advantage of this freedom and sabotage the process, we will fail as a country. We will not be able to move forward.
Moving on, the Court of Appeal today granted permission for the case filed against MP Mahindananda Alutgamage to be taken up in the presence of a separate High Court judge and not in the presence of Colombo High Court Judge Gihan Kulathunga.
Permission was granted after a request made by the MP was taken up for consideration. Delivering the ruling, Court of Appeal Justice Kumudani Wickramasinghe and Justice S. Thurairaja noted the verdict was given with the intention of delivering justice to both parties. The Attorney General filed a case at the High Court of Colombo against MP Mahindananda Alutgamage for purchasing a house located down in Kings Road in Boralla using 27 million rupees of funds generated illegally. However, Alutgamage informed the Court of Appeal if the case is taken up before the Justice Gihan Kulathunga, he could not expect any justice or fairness.
Let's now take a look at the day's illustrated news by cartoonist Asanka Ladua Hetty.
There are several key reasons that affect the exchange rate of the country. While the changes in market inflation cause changes in currency exchange rates, fluctuations in the interest rate also affect currency value and dollar exchange rate. The other key factors are the country's current account or balance of payments. Other causes include the amount of debt the government is in, as well as the political stability and international confidence. Over the past 32 months, various inquiries, investigations and judicial processes in relation to Sri Lanka's biggest ever economic scandal, the bond scams of February 2015 and March 2016, have been carried out by different authorities. However, due to the complexity of this issue and the subsequent masterly cover-up attempt, the magnitude of the monetary, economic and social losses have yet not been scientifically or authoritatively assessed. During the controversial bond scam on the 27th of February 2015, where bonds worth 10 billion rupees was issued for 30 years, the interest rates went up by 3.15%. As is well documented, the interest rates in the government securities market had been on a declining trend from about mid-2014 onwards, and just 1 week before the controversial bond issue, the secondary market trading showed that the 3-month Treasury bill was trading at around 5.86%, the 1-year Treasury bill was trading at around 6.1%, and the 30-year Treasury bond was trading at around 9.48%. while the latter rate had apparently dropped to about 9.35% before the February 27th auction date. According to central bank data, for the first quarter of 2018, exports have increased by 7.7% during the first quarter of 2018 to $2,989 million in comparison to $2,774 million during the same time frame last year. Imports have risen by 13.1% to $5,971 million during the first quarter of 2018, while the value stood at $5,279 million during the first quarter of last year. The trade gap thereby stood at minus $2,982 million in the first 3 months of 2018. Economists say after US elections in November, most emerging markets' currencies depreciated by sizable margins. In contrast, Sri Lanka's exchange rate moved the least among EM peers despite similar movements in bond spreads.
But if you take the lens zoom out of what's going on in Sri Lanka and look out what's going on in the other countries, we can see that this depreciation or devaluation against the rupee is not only common to Sri Lanka. So if you look at countries like India, if you look at Philippines, if you look at even countries like Pakistan, they're seeing much more depreciation than us. And that is primarily as a result of a significant factor, which is the dollar strengthening. So all these currencies and Sri Lankan rupee is referenced against the dollar. So when the dollar strengthens, the countries like Sri Lanka and India and Pakistan, their currencies weaken as well with a strengthening dollar. And so that in itself has, I think, been one of the factors why the rupee, for example, has come off. And
if the government was able to manage the economy and have strict fiscal discipline and control, the rupee will not fall to this extent. In terms of the balance of payments, if the levies imposed on exports such as the duty and cess on tea exports were relaxed further, the export quantities would increase, causing the gap to reduce. If the government objective is to increase agricultural exports, the government may well have to desist from relying on persons with no expertise or scientific knowledge who have tampered with invaluable resources, similar to the use of glyphosate that has significantly affected the production of tea and thereby exports.
A debate arose in Parliament regarding a speech that was made by Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake yesterday.
Lot. I have brought with me an affidavit and I will be tabling it. Some drivers have cashed checks and some people have obtained bribes through Russian mistresses. I have said no to all of those. I have not accepted money through Russian mistresses. I have not obtained anything from these people. I will table this affidavit. I want to challenge the joint opposition. They too have to provide an affidavit saying that they did not take any money. Say that you have not taken 70 million. I will respect it then. The Krish fraud by Namal Rajapaksa. I hope that former President Mahinda Rajapaksa will be brave to provide an affidavit like me. Will he say he did not put 82 million rupees into his brother's account from the tsunami aid and that he did not take money from the Chinese projects?
Deputy Minister Ranjan Ramanayake made a statement saying that there are MPs who obtained houses and women in addition to those who got money. There is a question before the society. A second-tier leader of the UNP is reaffirming this, that there are parliamentarians who have obtained houses and women. It has become a time where the children of a politician will not call him their father. Rogues have no colours. The head chair should provide leadership to safeguard the integrity of all 225.
We speak of 118. Where is this 118? If our MPs are talking in this manner, the media will pick it up. Why are we speaking about this? We are devaluing the parliament. Yesterday, Ranjan Ramanayake spoke about this. Why are you speaking about it again? We are making a joke out of ourselves.
If I remember correctly, the speaker made a statement regarding this. I will inform him once again. We will take care of it from there.
Attention was drawn towards Phoenix Duty-Free Services Lanka Limited. The company, Sri Lankan Airlines, had entered an agreement into for in-flight duty-free services at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry today. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farzan filed this report.
The witness, Marlon Pereira, a former employee at Phoenix Duty-Free Services Lanka Private Limited, said he was recruited in 2012 to provide training for the cabin crew at Sri Lankan Airlines and to enhance the duty-free sales on board flights. He said while providing the training and keeping track of the sales carried out on board flights, he occasionally visited the Kotnaika airport and on one such occasion came across a contract entered into between Sri Lankan Airlines and Phoenix Duty-Free Services Incorporated in Canada. According to this contract, Phoenix Duty-Free Services Lanka Private Limited is to bring down goods for duty-free sale under the name of Sri Lankan Airlines and thereafter move them to the bonded storage at Kotnayaka. According to the witness, the goods have been given duty-free concessions by the Board of Investment. However, according to the contract, the understanding between the seller and Sri Lankan Airlines was that the goods need to be sold or returned. The witness said he found certain anomalies in the contract and went on to note, as he kept track of the in-flight duty-free sales, there was an issue over the revenue and expenses of the company. He said from the data acquired, Phoenix Duty-Free Services Lanka Private Limited would make an annual sale of $5.54 million. However, when taking into account the expenses of the company and the dues that should be given to Sri Lankan Airlines as commission, the company would incur a loss of $1.2 million. He believed something was happening behind the scenes as the managing director, Raju Chandram, and finance manager, Mohammed Hamza, kept financial statements a secret. Phoenix Duty-Free Services Lanka Private Limited was initially incorporated in 2011 as Phoenix Rising Ventures Private Limited. Its founding director and founding shareholder was Raju Chandram. According to the Companies Act of 2007, provided that a company may have a single shareholder, such a single shareholder is the secretary to the Treasury, who is holding the shares on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka. Raju Chandram served as a director of Sri Lankan Catering in 2007 and at Sri Lankan Airlines until 2008.
Deputy Minister Buddhika Pathirana, who usually raises questions in Parliament, was questioned for the first time today as a Deputy Minister.
Hesha Vitanage poses a question to the Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce.
I could not even wipe my mouth after swearing in. I am made to answer questions in Parliament. The question is, what steps have been taken for the development of the industrial zone? A sum of 9.1,025,000 rupees has been allocated for the first phase of the road development from the Nalanda Ellavala zone. If Hesha needs, we can allocate a day and have a visit.
While we congratulate the new Deputy Minister, I am happy that I was able to ask the first question from the Deputy Minister, who is the parliamentarian who asked the most number of questions. He provided a good answer.
I
am happy that Buddhika Pathirana was appointed a Deputy Minister after years and years of being cut down.
A Peethadipati in the lineage of Swami Dattreya, Manik Prabhu Maharaj Samastan of Maniknagar, Karnataka, arrived in the island today. Prabhu Maharaj was welcomed by Trustee Ganesh Devanayagam and Dr. Marudini on behalf of the Sai Saranalayam. Sri Sadguru Jnanaraj Manik Prabhu Maharaj, who is a recognized scholar in Vedanta and is a well-known speaker in English, will conduct his first discourse at the Sai Temple Sri Varadaraja Vinayagara Temple in Kotahena tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Sriji, what brings you to Sri Lanka?
The devotees in Sri Lanka are doing the Parayanam of Manik Prabhu Charitram. I have come here for the conclusion ceremony of that function. And all that, and along with that, I have come here to give some discourses on the Advaita philosophy and the universal brotherhood, love and affection among all religious communities.
So at a time when the peace among the communities is much needed, you have come in Sri Lanka to spread your message. What exactly is your message to the Sri Lankan community here?
My message is you should try to see the Almighty in everything and everything in the Almighty. There is only one God, and we are all His children. We are all one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is my message.
U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley announced the United States is withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council, accusing the body of bias against U.S. ally Israel and a failure to hold human rights abusers accountable.
Announcing the decision alongside U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to quit the council, Haley described the council as a hypocritical and self-serving organization that displayed unending hostility towards Israel.
For too long, the Human Rights Council has been a protector of human rights abusers and a cesspool of political bias. Human rights abusers continue to serve on and be elected to the council. the world's most inhumane regimes continue to escape scrutiny. I want to make it crystal clear that this step is not a retreat from human rights commitments. On the contrary, we take this step because our commitment does not allow us to remain a part of a hypocritical and self-serving organization that makes a mockery of human rights.
Based in Geneva, the Human Rights Council, which was formed in 2006, is a body of 47 member states within the United Nations tasked with upholding human rights. But activists said the US move could hurt efforts to monitor and address human rights abuses around the world. While Israel praised the decision, some countries and diplomats were quick to express disappointment about the US withdrawal. The UNHRC's current president, Slovenian Ambassador Vojislav Suk, said the body was the only one responding to human rights issues and situations worldwide. Stefan Dujarric, the spokesman for the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, said the Secretary General would have much preferred for the United States to remain in the Human Rights Council. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Prince Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein called the US withdrawal disappointing, if not really surprising news. The resolution on Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Council concerning alleged human rights violations was passed without a vote in Geneva in March last year. The resolution was submitted by the United States, with Montenegro, the Republic of Macedonia, United Kingdom and Northern Ireland the main sponsors and Sri Lanka a co-sponsor.
The United States pulling out of the UN Human Rights Council is not going to affect Sri Lanka one way or the other. The resolution 2015 is in place, and the only way Sri Lanka can get out of that is to be able to muster a sufficient number of votes to revise or replace that resolution of 2015. Though the United States fronted the resolutions against Sri Lanka, the real driving force on the Sri Lankan issue in Geneva has always been the United Kingdom. The US has a strategy of what it calls leading from behind. So even when it was not a member of the Council, it was pushing the resolution against Sri Lanka from behind. In 2009. It can continue to do so even now that it has left the Council. So either way, there is no shortcut for Sri Lanka.
There's an advantage here, but President Mahinda Rajapaksa promised to implement the resolutions in the International Convention which we signed on human rights. We sent the first resolution with the assurance of a full implementation of the proposals which they passed and issued their praise to us. But none of them were implemented. As a person who accepts human rights, it doesn't matter to us who says what. As a country, if we have signed a globally accepted convention, we have to implement its clauses or else move out of it.
Sri Lanka's captain Dinesh Chandimal has been found guilty of changing the condition of the ball during the second day's play of the second test against West Indies, which concluded at Gross Island on Monday. Chandimal has been suspended from the third and final test against West Indies and has been fined 100% of his match fee for the second test.
Sri Lanka captain Dinesh Chandimal was charged by the international governing body for changing the condition of the ball. The ICC said after reviewing the footage of the incident, it was clear Chandimal applied an artificial substance to the ball, namely saliva containing the residue of something he had in his mouth, an action which is prohibited under the ICC Code of Conduct. In addition, Sri Lankan coach Chandika Hathurusinghe and manager Asanka Gurusinghe have been charged by the ICC with a breach of Article 2.3.1, a Level 3 offence, which relates to conduct that is contrary to the spirit of the game. They have been charged for their involvement in the Sri Lanka cricket team's refusal to take the field in St. Lucia at the start of Saturday's play, which caused a 2-hour delay in the start of play. According to the ICC Code of Conduct, all Level 3 breaches carry an imposition of between 4 and 8 suspension points. According to the ICC rules and regulations, 2 suspension points would result in a player being banned from the 1 test match or 2 one-day international or 2 T20 internationals. Thereby, the Sri Lankan captain, manager and head coach will face a situation where they will not be permitted to participate in the tour of South Africa. What is more shameful is that at a time when a senior lawyer by the name of Gominda Asri is in the Caribbean at the time Sri Lanka is playing against the West Indies, Sri Lanka cricket had failed to obtain his assistance. The foundation for these disasters is that individuals who have no understanding about cricket or related matters have been appointed as ministers and officials. Though a proposal was made for senior lawyer Gominda Asri to appear on behalf of Dinesh Chandimal, it was turned down after a message from Colombo noting that Dasri's services were not necessary. After Asanka Guru Singha has held talks with another lawyer whose name is referred to as Chandana, Gominda Asri was informed his services were not required. The reason for such outlandish decisions being made is that people who have no understanding about cricket or any other sport have been appointed to the post of Minister of Sports, citing a scientific process. At a time when there was provision to manage the issue with proper legal assistance, based on whose needs was there a delay to make the cricketers and the officials guilty?
Now speaking the news first, senior lawyer Gominda Asri had this to say.
Yes, I was engaged and disengaged. I was engaged by a very friendly, very communicative, very expressive Guru Singha, and I was disengaged after he spoke to some, according to him, I'm saying, some President's Council. And he mentioned, of course, somebody named Chandima or some name like that, who was supposed to be the chairman of the main person in charge of cricket at SLC. He mentioned talking to them. He came back very confident, but then he became rather not the same Guru Singh I met previously. It's a different face, hostile, sort of seems to be irritated.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Dasni Athalda. Good night.